Will Aaron Rodgers ever go to the Bears?
No, but I believe there's a team that might play in Chicago this year. On a road trip. I don't know. I'm not sure. Gotta check it out.
Hey, in this business, we call that foreshadowing, and it's finally come to fruition. Aaron Rodgers headed to Pittsburgh. Welcome to NFL Live. Phil Murphy here. We're running 21 personnel today. Kevin Clark, Jeremy Fowler in the studio. Mina Kimes, she'll be in the big screen with us. Aaron Rodgers, he's got a gold jacket with his name on it someday, but for now, he's in black and yellow. Let's dive into it. Last season, QBR, not kind to Rodgers. He ranked 25th. Total QBR 48th. He also ranked 28th in yards per attempt. That downfall did predate his torn Achilles. You see 2022, last year with the Packers, he was 26th in QBR, but that was after leading the league, not just 2021 on screen, 2020 as well. He won MVP both of those years. Jeremy, we now know Rodgers is a Steeler. How did we finally get to this point?
Constant communication. Mike Tomlin, OC Arthur Smith, talking up with Rodgers the last few weeks just to make sure everybody was comfortable, meaningful conversations. And then I was told Thursday morning inside the Steelers building is when this really started to intensify. And actually some relief set in because everybody there, everybody involved felt that this was going to happen. They expected it, but they never really got an affirmative yes until that point. And so that's when the ball got rolling. And now everybody's excited. You know, they gave Rodgers time too with the personal matter he had. I was told that that was big for them to just try to be patient through this process, let him work that out. That was real. And then now they got him. They believe he's been in excellent shape training in LA and he's ready to go.
Not a huge surprise ultimately that we got here, but that tension started to build as the calendar says June. I mean, Rodgers in his prime, we know routinely 30 to 40 touchdowns to 5 picks maybe on a year. What are the Steelers getting with Rodgers at QB in 2025?
If he plays like he did last year or the year before his Achilles injury, a below-average quarterback. You know, watching him with the Jets, it wasn't helped by the offensive line and the lack of an efficient run game, but you really saw some of the flaws I think you saw prior to his exit from Green Bay. And the one thing that jumped out to me, he still has arm strength. He can still make throws down the field, outside the numbers. Quick game, he's still accurate. But the intermediate throws that the best quarterbacks in the NFL dine on in that 10 to 20 yard range was really missing for Rodgers last year in that part of the field. 10 to 20 yards, 30th in QBR, 30th in EPA per play, 29th in completion percentage over expected. Now, there's a chance that a year removed from his Achilles injury, maybe he's more comfortable moving around in the pocket, navigating pressure. But he's 42 years old. I don't know if that's a bet I'm comfortable to make, so I would keep my expectations pretty tempered.
When I look at this situation, I'm going to give a take that you're probably not going to hear a lot. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be bad. It's going to be average, which is good enough to get the Steelers to the playoffs. When I think about Aaron Rodgers right now in his early 40s, I think about a guy who can't move, but what can he do? He can be really good pre-snap and he can throw the deep ball. That's two pretty good things. You add that with DK Metcalf and you got something cooking. But when I think about this offense, I need to see a merging between Arthur Smith's idea of offense and Aaron Rodgers. With Matt LaFleur and the MVP era, which I would call maybe 2019 to 2021, it was Rodgers getting his back to the defense, play action, understanding there were other ideas in offense that were not just Aaron Rodgers and Nate Hackett and Mike McCarthy. So I want to see him buy into Arthur Smith. I want to see him play action. That's the kind of thing that can get Rodgers to be the 14th, 15th best quarterback in the NFL, and that's playoffs for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel like losing with the football at times when we talk about Aaron Rodgers buying into a new offense because I just don't believe it, right? He's going to run the Aaron Rodgers offense. Quarterbacks don't get more accepting of change, usually older in their careers. And it is a little bit of a strange fit, Kevin. I mean, last year, Arthur Smith, that offense ran the 5th most under center snaps in football. Rodgers prefers to be in the gun. You saw that bottom 10 rate in New York. I don't know what this marriage looks like, but I do know this. They have to have a strong run game for any of this to work, and that is something that the Steelers have invested in. So that would probably be the biggest case for optimism, that we see a better Rodgers than we did last year with the Jets. If they can run the football better, then maybe he'll be in better down and distance.
A couple of years ago, I talked to Rodgers about how he basically invented that new offense with Matt LaFleur that won him an MVP, and a lot of it was blind throws. And who did he study when he was looking at blind throws? Ryan Tannehill and Arthur Smith. That That was the buy-in. That was how he understood how to hang in the pocket and trust that offense. And so I wonder if he goes back to that a little bit, looks at that Tannehill tape from that year where Tannehill was one of the best quarterbacks in football, if you guys remember, borrow from that. If I'm Arthur Smith, I clip out that article I wrote a couple years ago and put it in his locker and say, look, you watched me. You watched me.
Plug there.
Hey, fine. It's going to be fine. Fine would be an upgrade for the Pittsburgh
Yes.
at the end of last season. Steelers, 14.2 points per game in their last 5. Speaking of, that's now 5 different QBs to start week 1 for the Steelers in the last 5 years. Hey, the Colts had a longer run than that post Andrew Luck. Now Indy's going to be without QB Anthony Richardson for the immediate future as the 23-year-old aggravated the right shoulder joint he injured back in 2023. Head coach Shane Steichen on Thursday gave this update on his QB.
So we're going to set him out this week. Obviously, he'll sit out for mini camp. We'll see when he comes back. Not going to put a timetable for training camp on it, but when he does come back, we'll ease him into throwing, and then we'll go from there. The good thing is he's not going to need a procedure right now. Obviously, look, it's frustrating, but I think at the same time, in life and anything, you go through these obstacles and these ups and downs, and you got to fight through them. That's part of life. And like I said, he's in good spirits right now, so we'll work through it.
Been a rough couple years in the Colts QB stable. Anthony Richardson's touchdown to interception ratio ranks second worst amongst 45 QBs to throw at least 250 passes the last 2 seasons. The only QB who's worse is teammate Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones, who the Colts did sign this offseason. Richardson, 8 TDs to 12 picks last year in 11 games, completing just 47.7% of his passes. Jeremy Fowler, that is the 3rd worst of any QB this millennium. But Richardson, to health now is the question. He played just 15 games total in 2 seasons. What more can you tell us about his health today?
Yeah, Phil, I'm not going to look at that QB room of the Colts the same after some of those stats, but Anthony Richardson, I'm told, reported some symptoms, some agitation on his throwing shoulder a couple days ago. He had an AC joint fixed up surgically in 2023. So it's similar to that injury, but there's nothing structural based on the people I've talked to. They believe, looking at the scans, that there's no major red flag and that he simply does need rest. And the Colts are a little bummed by this because the coaches felt like he had some of his best 2 days of practice leading up to this point. And so I'm told the player fully expects to be back for the start of training camp. But this is a slippery slope here, as we know, because there have been a lot of injuries here. And the Colts are sort of cautiously optimistic, I would call it, based on some conversations I've had today.
We had a whole full screen for it, and Kevin, GM Chris Ballard during Combine Week leaned into the word competition regarding this QB job. 2 weeks later, Daniel Jones puts pen to paper. Are we trending toward Jones being the starter, the QB1 in Indy?
Yeah, you don't give Daniel Jones $14 million unless he's in a competition, all right? That's just the way quarterback salaries work in this league. He has thrown, Anthony Richardson, 348 passes in the NFL. In his first 2 years, that is the 2nd lowest of any top 10 pick in the last 20 years. Trey Lance is the only player with less pass attempts, okay, that was drafted in the top 10. Jake Locker had a few more than Anthony Richardson. That's the area of the pool that Anthony Richardson is in right now. So he needs to play more football. I've never seen anybody more destined to be in the 2026 Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback competition than Anthony Richardson, because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a training camp where Daniel Jones will probably start with the ones. There's job preservation now going on in Indianapolis with Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard. They're going to want to get to 7, 8, 9 wins in order to keep their job.